Hey guys, it's Will. It's Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, welcome and thank you for finding us. If you like this video, if you're not subscribed, if you're a big fan of Jackie Chan, of Hong Kong cinema, of Blu-rays, of martial arts films, and all that other fun stuff, please do give us a sub, give us a comment, give us a thumbs up. I love getting in the comment section and discussing stuff with people. It's my favorite thing about doing this channel. I want to give a quick shout out to our patrons who help this channel run. All of the money that we earn there goes back into the channel. You can sign up for $2 a month, $5 a month. I do exclusive videos, wicked early release videos. It's a really fun community in there. I did a giveaway recently, so check that out. So what are we here to talk about today? I'm very excited because it's one of my favorite things to talk about is Jackie freaking Chan. Hell yes. This is the 88 Films Blu-ray release of 1999's gorgeous, and this is a Region A and a Region B release, so you can check this out whether you are in Region A or in Region B. This film was released in 1999. Like I said, it's directed by Vincent Koch. It stars, actually, the protagonist of this film, my screenwriter brain is going to tell you, as I was thinking while I was watching it, it's actually Shu Qi, who's right here. And then you have Jackie Chan, you have Brad Allen. Ken Lo is in this movie, and Tony Leung, is he on? I don't think Tony Leung is on the cover, interestingly enough, but he is one of the main characters in this film. You have dolphins. The dolphins made it onto the cover. Sorry, Tony Leung, but the dolphins made it. And I'm not trying to rip on. Sean Longmore did this artwork, and I freaking love this artwork, so I'm not ripping on the artwork. It's just funny to me that the dolphins there. But we don't get Tony Leung. And then the villain in this film is played by Joaquin Chow, who is this guy right here, or Joaquin Chow. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce his name, and I do apologize for that. Daniel Wu is in this movie, very, very young, as basically like a cameo. There's a lot of cameos in this movie. Stephen Chow has a cameo in this movie, and some of those cameos, like the Stephen Chow cameo, it's cut out of the international version. So if you've never seen the original Hong Kong cut of this film, which is the Hong Kong theatrical cut, which is like 21 minutes longer, I think, they are both on here, both of the cuts, by the way, then you'll never have seen the Stephen Chow cameo. And it's a great cast, and it's a really fun movie. 88 Films, coming out March 27th, or it came out rather, March 27th of 2023. I'm going to tell you what the movie is about, kind of just in a nutshell, so you can get an idea of what this film is. I will show off the physical release, and then I will get into my review. So Shu Qi plays a young woman who lives in Taiwan, and she's not exactly sure what to do with her life, but she's very romantic. She's very whimsical. This movie really reminds me of Amelie, which came out, I think, just 1 or 2 years later. It's a romantic comedy, and it has that same sense of like whimsy and the fantastical. And so she's this character who's kind of like aloof, like goofy, not aloof, but like goofy and like kind of like absent-minded and silly and romantic and naive and childlike, but at the same time she's kind of a badass. Like she doesn't take crap from people, and she knows who she is, and she asserts who she is, and she's a very interesting character who has a lot of dynamics to her. But she is this kind of like naive, whimsical, romantic character, and she lives in this small rural village in Taiwan, and she finds a message in a bottle that says, "Come to Hong Kong, I miss you, I love you," whatever. So she goes to Hong Kong, and things don't exactly go as she planned, but she does find romance, and she finds romance with Jackie Chan, who plays kind of against type here. He plays this really wealthy business guy. And then Brad Allen, this guy is kind of the villain, and he is Jackie Chan's, like, the Jackie Chan character's rival from when they were kids. And they're still rivals, and they're both successful businessmen. It's a very goofy movie. And then Brad Allen is someone who is hired by the villain to try to humble Jackie Chan. Is the best way to put it. But it's really a romantic comedy at heart. There are two really stellar set-piece fight scenes with Brad Allen in this film that are absolutely fantastic, and there's 1 or 2 other cool action sequences and fight scenes, but it is not like an action spectacular super cop police story type of Jackie Chan movie. It really is a romantic comedy with the fight scenes and action scenes put into it. So you might actually like there are some people who are saying they like the shorter version more because it gets faster to the action, and they're watching a Jackie Chan film because they like the action. I love Amelie. That's like one of my favorite movies, and I love romance, and I love like whimsical movies, and there's like elements of magical realism in this film, and I really like that. And so I I thought the extended cut of this film which is actually the Hong Kong theatrical, it's not actually an extended cut, which is 120 minutes, and then I think 99 minutes is the shorter version. I thought the longer version of this film was like head and shoulders better, and I had never seen it before. I did a cut comparison in Patreon. That's a Patreon exclusive video, so you have to go over there to check that out if you want to see the full comparison between the two cuts. But a lot of what they take out is like the really important material for who the characters are and where they come from and what their journey is. And I think the movie really loses something in that stuff being removed. But again, I get it. If you just want to see the fight scenes and you want to see Jackie being Jackie, I could understand why you would like the shorter version more. So that's what the movie is in a nutshell. Let me show you the physical here. This is amazing. Slipcase here, Sean Longmore artwork. I did reverse this because I really like this very silly, like very 90s, almost like indie. It almost like makes me think of like an indie album cover. And then here's the back, and we open it up, and Matthew Edwards did the writing that is inside here, and it is really cool. I'm going to talk to you about it in a second here. There's the disc. It is a single disc release, but it is jam-packed with stuff, which I will talk about. Here is the booklet. Now, so Matthew Edwards starts this booklet by just kind of contextualizing where Jackie Chan was in his career at the point in time in which this film came out. But let me read you this paragraph here, which is on the second page of the booklet. I'm going to read you this, just the intro to this paragraph. During this period, I was writing for Jackie Chan's official magazine, Screen Power. In July of 2000, the JC Group invited me, along with editor-publisher of Screen Power magazine, to go to the set in Istanbul to write a diary/set report for the filming of The Accidental Spy. Originally published in Screen Power, the following set report will be of interest to fans of Jackie Chan and an insight into the filmmaking process of a Jackie Chan film, a film that was made around the same time as Gorgeous and one that featured the late Brad Allen as part of the stunt team. So yes, rest in peace to Brad Allen, who passed away recently and is incredible in this film and such an amazing presence and such an amazing fighter and a very good actor and had a really incredible career. And I'll talk about him more when I talk about the commentary. So this stuff here is all this republished set report from what was going on. Look at these photographs on the set of this of The Accidental Spy, which was like he says around the same time as Gorgeous was made. And it's just so cool to see all this stuff and to read. It was really amazing to be able to read this. And a big shout out to Matthew Edwards, I mean, for doing this in the first place, but then getting it republished and working with 88 Films to put this in here. As a huge fan of Jackie Chan, and this is around, I mean, I got really into Jackie Chan in 1997, which was when First Strike was theatrically released in the United States, and then Operation Condor came out later that year, and I saw both of those films and became a huge fan. So this is like, in 1999, I turned 16. So this was like right when I was like loving movies and watching tons of stuff. There's like a lot of nostalgia for me looking through this booklet and remembering those days. And then you get a poster here, which has the Sean Longmore artwork here. And then this artwork on the other side. So there you go, and that is the physical release. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you my thoughts of this movie. Like I said, I'd never seen the extended cut, and on top of that, I hadn't seen this movie at all in like 20 plus years. I'd only seen this movie once before, and it was a long time ago. So I am going to talk about my impressions of the film upon revisiting it, and then I will go into detail on some of the bonus material that is on here. I love this movie. I love the crap out of it. As soon as it started, I was in love with it because I love that sense of whimsy. Like, I can't emphasize enough that this film really reminded me of Amelie. It doesn't look like Amelie. Amelie has that really unique look to it, but it has a very similar protagonist and a similar journey and a very similar tone that's very whimsical and fantastical and is like borderline magical realism. It's not like full-blown gonzo magical realism, but it has these elements of magical realism. Like, for instance, in this film, the Shu-Chi character talks to dolphins, and in some scenes they reply to her. They're not like opening their mouth being like, "Hey, what's up, man? Let's talk." But because that's how Taiwanese dolphins talk. But they kind of respond to her through body language and like that thing that dolphins do. Do you like my dolphin impression? Let me know in the comments. I just love this movie, and the character is really dynamic and very interesting. I think it was very bold of Jackie to not be the protagonist in this film. It's very interesting that he's playing against type as this like wealthy guy who, and there's a gentleness. So he plays this wealthy guy who's like trading stocks and buying companies and like this kind of stuff. There's a gentleness to this movie because Jackie has this rivalry with this guy, and the guy sends like thugs to beat him up, and he hires Brad Allen to beat him up. But even in the fight scenes, there's this emphasis on like, well, don't hurt him too much. We just want to teach him a lesson and scare him a little bit. Like, we don't really want to severely injure him. There's like a gentleness and a sweetness and a kindness to this movie that runs through everything that I just really appreciated because I really like films like that. This movie does a really good job of putting you in a time and a place, and that's not the real world. It's kind of this fantasy world, and fleshing out the whole world and giving you these really fantastic characters. Like the parents of the Shu Qi characters play big roles, and her parents own this karaoke bar, like restaurant kind of thing. And you see like people singing, and you see her working there and being friends with the customers, and her dad like talking to everybody, and her mom talking to people. And there's really great scenes with her and her mom just talking about life and what she wants out of life, and being young and having all these opportunities in front of her. And it's a really like touching, hopeful, kind of sweet film that really just makes you happy, puts a smile on your face, which to me is one of the great things about Jackie Chan, is that he always has an ability to make me happy, you know? Like his films are a joy. He really wants to entertain you, and he wants you to love what you're watching. And I think this is a movie that I loved watching. Brad Allen is freaking fantastic in this movie. He really holds the screen incredibly well. His presence when pitted against Jackie Chan in those fight scenes is really strong. He's so fast, and his martial arts look so good on camera. He's just a really tremendous performer in this film in particular. I just loved this movie. I don't need to go into too many details on it. I think like it's a great journey from start to finish. It has a lot of tropes of the romantic character or the romantic comedy genre. So for instance, Tony Leung plays like the gay best friend of the Shu Qi character, and the way they meet is like kind of preposterous. And then the fact that he like invites her to stay in his apartment, and like, there is like a little bit of business where he's like, "I'll find you a hotel," and then she's like, "No, I'm just gonna stay here," and he's like, "Okay, I guess you're gonna stay here." Then. Like it's just ridiculous, and it's very like '90s romantic comedy, but it just works really well because they, I mean, when you have an actor like Tony Leung, even if you have a stereotype of like the gay best friend in the rom-com, he's going to kill that role. You're going to believe that character, and there's going to be an amazing dynamic and interplay with the co-star. And Shu Qi is freaking fantastic in this movie. Her performance is so incredible. The two of them have this amazing chemistry and rapport. She's also got great chemistry with Jackie. There's just like this overwhelming silliness and gentleness to this movie that I find so appealing. So to talk about the release, there's an archival behind the scenes that is 30 minutes long. I love this shit. I talked about it with the Heart of Dragon release from 88 Films. Like, there's like over an hour worth of behind the scenes stuff on that release. You see them making the movie. You see the director working with the actors, working with Jackie on set, behind the scenes, talking about the scenes. Like, it's just so amazing to see that insight into the filmmaking process and get to see the footage of the set at the time. Like, there's nothing I like more than that. There's an interview with Vincent Koch, the director, that's like 20 minutes long. Again, like tremendous amounts of insight into this film, the process behind making the film, the development of it, how he met Jackie, how Jackie was brought into the project, like all that stuff. And then there's Andy Cheng on Brad Allen. This is like a 20-minute, I think like 20-minute long tribute to Brad Allen that's really touching and fantastic, and you learn all about him and his personality, where he came from, all these different incredible projects that he was in. This release is a really... Mike Leader was good friends with Brad Allen, and I'll talk about Mike and Arna's commentary track in a bit, but between Mike and Arna's, discussing him on the commentary track and this tribute video to him, this is a really tremendous tribute. This release is a really tremendous tribute to Brad Allen. Frank and FJ DeSanto commentary track. This is one of my favorite commentaries from them so far. I freaking loved this one. I loved it for a lot of reasons. Frank opens with this insane dump of information that's almost like overwhelming. I had to like pause to take notes to make sure I was getting everything. Like, he talks about where the movie takes place, the whole history of that part of Taiwan, and tying that into the history of the Taiwan in general. What is the Chinese language title of the film? When was the film released? The fact that the movie made a bunch of money at the box office. It was a Chinese New Year release. It played until March 31st, 1999, which was my 16th birthday, which is also the day The Matrix was released. So imagine that you could have maybe seen this movie and The Matrix on the same day in theaters on my birthday in 1999. That's pretty freaking cool. It was shot in sync sound. Amazing bios in this one. Frank always knows like the full bio of all the actors, and like the woman who plays the Shu Qi character's mom, Elaine Lin is maybe her name. She's like won all these awards and was like extremely famous, and she was one of the only openly gay actors in Hong Kong and Taiwan at that time, and just like she sounds like this amazing person. It was fascinating to learn her whole bio and learn all this stuff about her. And then FJ provides such, FJ is like a huge huge lifelong fan of Jackie Chan since like the mid 80s, and also a movie producer himself. He's met Jackie multiple times. He's also a writer, and he's done all this incredible stuff within the industry. And he has so much insight. Like he talks about how this is like Jackie playing like a Richard Gere or Michael Douglas type of character, which I never would have thought of, because they're like these wealthy guys who have everything except for love, and how do they go about finding love. He talks about Jackie kind of coming into middle age and why he wanted to play this type of role. And Rush Hour came out just before this movie, so this movie is a very clear, distinct contrast from Rush Hour, because Rush Hour is a very international film made in America for international audiences. So this is a very like local Hong Kong, Taiwan type of movie, and tonally very different. Jackie doesn't show up until 15 minutes into the film. It's just really amazing analysis from FJ, and I love listening to. I would love to just sit down with FJ and watch Jackie movies and listen to him talk about them. And then Frank talks about how the message in the bottle in this film is like what's written on the message is from a famous pop song in Taiwan. They talk about Tony Leung and how he's a really tremendous actor, and he brings so much subtlety to the role, and kind of like a gravitas to the role that maybe it might not otherwise have if you had like a pure comedian playing it, which is interesting analysis. So I loved that commentary track. I really loved it. And then Mike and Arna. Mike Leader was on the set of this movie. What else do you want from a commentary track? Like the first fight scene with Brad Allen is outside by the water in Hong Kong. And Mike Leader talks about like it was freezing that night and there was like this really cold wind blowing in off the bay, and Brad Allen is wearing like a t-shirt and he was doing like all these gymnastics and kicks and stuff to stay warm. Jackie was in kind of like a bad mood, and he was telling Mike Leader about how he was going to be doing Shanghai Noon next, and he was really excited to do a Western because he wanted to do Western for a long time, but he wasn't sure about the material and he didn't quite get all the jokes in it, and he was having reservations about it. And like it was just really, really amazing to hear Mike Leader's insights into being on the set of this film. And he was good friends with Brad Allen, like I said. And he talks about how Brad Allen would watch martial arts films and not understand that you could speed film up. So he thought you had to be that fast. And he was so fast that Jackie had to tell him to slow down. He was like, the camera's going to miss you, and I'm not going to be able to keep up with you. And apparently, I've heard the same thing about Jet Li, that Jet Li was so fast as a martial artist that he had to be forced to slow down because you couldn't see what he was doing on camera because he's so fast. And I guess Brad Allen was like moving so quickly that they were worried that people wouldn't be able to tell what was going on, but also Jackie couldn't keep up with him, which is really interesting. It's just a really amazing tribute to Brad Allen in general from Mike Leader on this commentary track. It's a really touching and fantastic commentary track, but this is a very goofy movie. So the phone rang in the office, so I had to stop for a second and let the phone ring. Nothing important. Not a call I needed to take. But so Arna talks about how this movie kind of reminds him of a Stephen Chow film and how a lot of Stephen Chow's regulars are in this movie, and he talks about the tone of it and the gags, the jokes and stuff like that. And it's really interesting. He kind of tracks that throughout the whole movie, comparing it to Stephen Chow films. This was the second highest grossing movie of the year it came out in Hong Kong. The highest grossing movie was The King of Comedy, the Stephen Chow movie. So, and those two movies were filming at the same time in the same place. So as Mike Leader points out, that's why Jackie does a cameo in the Stephen Chow film. Stephen Chow does a cameo in the Jackie film, because they were like, why don't we do cameos in each other's movies? Because we're shooting at the same time in the same place. They talk about Richie Jen, who is in this movie, and what he's like in real life. And he's like very goofy, but he plays like really kind of serious, violent characters in some movies. Sam Lee is in this film, who's also in Biozombie, and Arna knows him, so you get a lot of insight into his character, which is really interesting. There's a really interesting story in this, which I never heard before, that Mike Leader tells about how Jackie was actually going to shoot a sports movie in Japan around this time, and that whole thing fell apart because of like tabloid stuff about Jackie and like something that happened in his personal life. It's really interesting to hear that story. I'm not going to tell you the whole thing, but go listen to it. There's a really interesting discussion about the stigma of nudity in Hong Kong cinema, and how Shu Qi is like one of the few actresses to ever start in what are considered like, adult type. They're not like porn films, but like films for adults in which there is like full nudity and stuff like that. She's like one of the very few people to ever go from that to like mainstream success. It's a really interesting conversation. There's just and Daniel Wu. There's really interesting information about Daniel Wu in here, and how he was, when he was brought into the Jackie Chan team, and like what their aspirations for him were. And I highly recommend listening to both of those commentary tracks. But you're really going to want to listen to the other commentary track because it's the Jackie Chan commentary track. This is on the shorter version, the international cut. And I mean, what else would you want from a Jackie Chan release? A freaking Jackie Chan comic. This is like a 5-star A+ release for me. Like, this is top tier Jackie Chan Blu-ray release. Like, I don't think they get much better than that. Obviously, you have the Police Story set, which is like multiple films, so it's just like incredible. But like as a single film, single disc release, I don't think it gets much better than this. And that you really should get this if you're a big Jackie fan like I am. He talks about how he met the director and how the story was developed, how the director brought him the material, how they worked on it together. He originally wasn't interested in starring in it. He just wanted to produce it. And he talks about, there was a Taiwanese pop star. I don't think he ever says her name, but there was a Taiwanese pop star they were pursuing to be the female lead who ended up going to the Shu-Chi, that character. And he talks about all the negotiations with her and the meetings with her and how he ended up becoming involved and how he wanted to cast younger people, but then he ended up playing the male lead. And another thing that FJ DeSanto says, which I actually just thought of talking about the Jackie commentary, is he talks about how this movie is like the beginning of a next phase in Jackie's career where he would cast himself and then surround himself with younger people. And in kind of an international, I mean, it's really Hong Kong and Taiwan here. It's not as international as they became in later years, but like an international cast. And that would be kind of the basis of the movie. And so it wouldn't just be people of his generation and his people and his stunt team, but he would cast other types of stars and stuff like that. So this is a really just incredible release. I'm so happy to have this. I'm so happy to watch this movie again. I loved this movie. It was so much fun to revisit with all this incredible bonus material. It is the 88 Films release of Gorgeous for Region A and Region B. My name is Will. You are watching Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. I thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.